Today, we're joined by Sheriff Mike Schiff, who has served as Sullivan County Sheriff since 2006. This Sheriff Schiff began his career in law enforcement with New York State Police in 1977 and brings nearly 5 decades of experience to this role. During his time as sheriff, he has overseen a wide range of initiatives from expanding the department's youth division and school programs to introducing new tools like drones and the emergency services unit. As he seeks another term in the office, Sheriff Schiff joins us to talk about his experiences, the challenges facing Sullivan County today, and his priorities moving forward. So welcome to the program, Sheriff.
Oh, thank you for having me.
So, Sheriff Schiff, you led the Sullivan County Sheriff's Office for nearly 2 decades, longer than most officials even serve in their lifetime. When you look back on these years, what accomplishments are you most proud of, and what unfinished business keeps you motivated to run again?
Well, I'm very motivated. I'm very proud to be the sheriff for the people of Sullivan County. When I came to the office, they were under-equipped, underpaid, and really didn't have a lot of specialty units like the youth offices and the DARE program, the response team, as you said. A lot of the technological stuff we've been able to obtain has brought us into the modern world. And, we continue to train. One of our biggest things is I think every year we seem to get more and more training. And in this business, you have to train. You have to know your work. You have to know your business. And, my hope is to continue expanding on all the programs we've started, trying to get the people that are in those programs the most up-to-date training, and to try to give the best service to the people of Sullivan County that we can.
Now, I just want to bring up a topic that's recently came up on social media. There's a video that recently surfaced online alleging a cover-up involving a supposed love triangle between a member of your office, specifically your undersheriff, and an inmate, and a Sullivan County former deputy. The video claims that there was inappropriate behavior and a cover-up within the Sullivan County Sheriff's Office. You released a statement just a few hours ago as of this recording. Would you like to take this opportunity to address those allegations again and sort of clarify your response?
Well, I would like to address them. I think they're completely unfounded. There's no evidence put in there other than a couple of videos of the undersheriff, one giving the person a hug in the squad room with people around after her car had been stolen, and she was no longer an employee. And this deputy is a longtime friend of the undersheriff, as the same with me. I know her for quite some time. The other photo is he's parked outside the back of our office by our main door coming in and out for the deputies, and in his truck in the middle of the day, and she was sick and asked him to bring some Dayquil, which he did. From those two videos, to stretch it that he is having an affair with this woman, to me, is just unacceptable. I don't have words. My undersheriff has young children and a wife, and if somebody does something, accuse them. But how many people have gotten in a truck with someone or given someone a hug to console them or for hello? That does not mean they're having an affair. If you make that kind of horrible accusation, you should have in publicly and say, I want to be the sheriff of your county, but I'm going to put out a statement like that with absolutely no evidence at all. That should scare people and it should infuriate people. Because if it happened to somebody else and that accusation was made publicly, they would be outraged. And every citizen in this county should be outraged by that. There is no cover-up. They allege there's a cover-up with the deputy. She came forward and self-reported that she was having feelings for an inmate. She self-reported to the undersheriff because they're very friendly, and he said that's a problem. He reported to me. We had a meeting, and she resigned. She left our employ. Our chief of the jail went through all the video footage on any time she would have been in the pod with him to make sure that there were nothing that occurred that we would have had to take further action and potentially make an arrest, because it's not okay for an inmate and a CO under those circumstances to have any kind of sexual encounter. He went back through all the phone calls and found nothing about bringing in contraband or anything of that kind that would have risen to the level of a crime. There was a 20-second point where they went into a closet and came out, but there is no evidence that anything occurred, and a 20-second period is not enough to do anything of any consequence. She left our employ, and with the follow-up just to make sure we didn't need to start an investigation, because I don't call that an investigation. That's just ensuring that there's nothing we have to take action on. We walked away from that, and now to allege that there's a cover-up, again, based on what? Based on that they went into a slop sink closet for 20 seconds. Maybe something happened, maybe it didn't. But as far as we can see, nothing happened. We have no reason to believe that anything happened that quickly. And there was no other interaction that would lead us to believe that she would be doing something like that in the facility. So, I would just call that a horrible accusation again. This girl is a local girl, did the right thing and came forward, self-reported, and resigned because she knew it was a problem. And again, the other things that we handled with her car being taken, that was initially called into Monticello PD. It was at the casino. We picked up the report. Her car was seized. We held on to it. We did everything by the book, everything that was supposed to happen. And now to make it like it's a cover-up, I take exception to that. That if you're going to allege something, have real evidence. Don't just throw mud out there and make wild accusations and link it together with what you call evidence, but you're trying to just convince people and leading them like with breadcrumbs to where you want them to be and what you want them to think. Very skillfully done. People in sales will tell you there are tricks to that. But I come from a police background, not a press background, not a sales background. And to me, if you're going to allege something, have proof, have hard proof, have something that citizens would feel comfortable that I can see what you're saying here and I see a crime and it should be investigated. So I'm very troubled by this, that this would be put out from someone who wants to be your sheriff. I'm beside myself on that. Again, these people have families, and to drag them through the mud. I'm running for sheriff. They already made some comments about my wife, my children. My one daughter had a problem, and I find that totally unacceptable. If you want to pick a fight, pick it with me. I'll respond in whatever manner I want, but I'm running for sheriff, and if you want to pick a fight, I'm the target, not the people around me. I find that to be off base, and I've always conducted myself that way. My parents raised me that just because somebody else does something wrong does not give you license to do the same thing just because they did it. We all know what's right or wrong. We all have our own values, and I would not conduct myself in that manner. And I'm rambling on, but I'm outraged. I am thoroughly outraged that this happened.
Yeah, no, definitely. So let's move on to another topic here, Sheriff. Let's talk some of the innovations that you have posted on social media and your website. You've spoken about innovations like the drones, the Bearcat deployment, enhanced training. How have these changes directly improved public safety in Sullivan County? And can you point out any specific results?
Well, all the training and all the equipment we get when there's an emergency gives you the tools to do your job. We've gotten ATVs. We had two ATVs when I came on. Now we have 3 UTVs, which is something you can put multiple people in. ATV is just a single seater. To most people, those are recreational vehicles. For us, if we have a lost child or we got to get back in the woods for a reason, for a multitude of things that we do, that's a tool. That gets us back where we have to go without hiking back or hiking in.
Right.
And we're able to bring people out if they're injured. It gives us a whole new parameter of things to do. The Bearcat, very pleased that we were able to purchase that. The Bearcat, in my view, is a rescue vehicle. It's not an assault vehicle. Too many people think it's used for assault. It's an armored vehicle that puts people in a protective shell, and it'll stop a .50 caliber. So we can send people into a hot situation. Up near Rochester, there was a small town, I can't think of the name of the town. Guy starts a fire, and when the firemen came, he starts shooting at them. He shot 4 firemen.
Wow.
2 of them were rescued, 2 died. The 2 that were rescued with a Bearcat. They were able to go into a hot scene, pull him into the Bearcat, both of them, and get them out of there and get them medical treatment, because medical treatment could not have gone where they were. So my first thought on this when we got it, the normal Bearcat is like a bread wagon.
Right.
I told them I wanted a 4-door, and they had 2 used ones. That one was the bread wagon, one was the 4-door. And the one we got was more of a military vehicle, had 4 seats, ballistic seats that would stop a bullet, had the 5-point harness, the V-hull, so if you hit an explosive device and flipped over on your roof, the harness would hold you in. And they kept trying to convince me, you want the bread wagon. That's what response teams use. And I said, no, I want this to be a rescue vehicle. So we took the back seats out. We bought the 4-door, took the back seats out, and we put 2 seats that flip down. So when they can sit there and have a seat, and there's a bench behind that. But when they get out, that seat flips up out of the way. So the 2 rear doors have no obstruction to pulling someone in. There is no seat in their way. So you have a free egress or ingress to get someone in if you're picking them up off the ground, whether it's a civilian, a fireman, a policeman, EMS worker, and you can actually go in under fire and rescue them. And you'd have 3 points, the 2 rear doors and the back door to get them in. One of those points should be in a safe direction.
Wow.
So I was thrilled to get that. A lot of the other equipment, we got plate readers. We were the first agency in Sullivan County to have plate readers. Plate readers are incredible. Every time you're driving around, you're registering plates. So if we get a call that there might be a terrorist or a burglar or someone in the area, we can go into those plate readers and see if we encountered that vehicle, where and when. If we're looking for a vehicle, we can plug in that plate, and if you encounter it, it'll give you the response and show you just encountered that vehicle. Wow. It also shows people that have unregistered vehicles, uninsured. It gives us a great ability to do our job and a lot easier. And with capabilities we would not have just sending a deputy out looking around.
Right. Wow.
I'm trying to think of some of the other technological things. The drones were a huge surprise to us. We knew what they could do, but we didn't realize what the capabilities are endless. 1 week, we had a fire over by Albella's in Monticello, and they had 2 ladder trucks up spraying water into the fire, but all the firemen could see was smoke. So I called for Chuck Stackhouse. Charlie comes over. He had his drone, put the drone up, and with the camera, all you could see was smoke. So we went to the thermal imaging, and you could see exactly where the fire was. So he got on a laptop with the fire chief, and they're directing. He's telling them where to direct the flow, and the fire chief is talking to his firemen on the radio, telling them where to direct the water, not just spraying water at nothing or maybe randomly hitting the fire. Where's the fire, and telling him where to put the flow of water. And the fire chief said to Charlie, who would have ever thought I'd be fighting a fire like this, in this manner? Then a couple of days later, we get a grass fire up in Hewlin. It's like on the side of a hill, and very difficult to get up in there. We put the drones up, and we were able to tell them where the flare-ups were coming from. So they could go in and just go where they had to go, not climb up this mountain and wear themselves out and fatigue themselves. A lot of the firemen are not young men and women. So it helped there. Then we had the fire at the Pines. This all in 1 week.
Wow.
And I had Chris Velastro on the drone. And that guy's got eyes in the back of his head. I don't know how he sees everything. The guy's got incredible comprehension on that. And at some point, a wall collapsed. And the fire chief goes, holy crap, did our guys get out okay? And Chris goes, nope, I had eyes on them. They're all out. They're good.
Wow.
Again, with the thermal imaging, he was able to see through the smoke and the fire, and then was helping them with fire again, where to direct water. Then a couple of days later, we get the forest fire up in Sundown, up on Sundown Road. And we shared the duties, but we were working around the clock with the state police, Ulster County Sheriff, and our drone unit, all keeping track for the firemen where the flare-ups were. There was high wind, and you'd get the fire out, and then the wind would kick up, and it would start up again. It was a tool that we never really looked at those kind of things, and it became very invaluable for fire. Some of the other things we're getting, a lot of the areas, we had a plane crash reported. It turned out there was no plane crash. It was up in the Beaverkill Valley. No cell phone service, no laptop. Somebody had a Starlink, and that gave us an ability to communicate. Oh, wow. So with our drone team, we have several in, I believe that public safety has. We're getting Starlinks. We're getting mesh radios. We're in an area where you have no radio service. We can do in a reasonably small area. We can transmit from our radios to each other and communicate. So technologies, probably got a list. I don't know how long you want me to go on this, but we got ATAC. That allows, with our drones or our response team, to record and send a message out. So you can be at that scene and looking on your cell phone or a laptop. You can be beaming it back to the office, and everybody can watch in real time what you're seeing. You don't have to huddle around the controls from the video, or you don't have to be in the stack going in the door with the team to see what's going on. And that's been invaluable also to get that information out quick. Pole cameras. We've gotten pole cameras so we can keep an eye on an area wherever we have any kind of problem. If we have to keep an eye on a piece of road, that there are traffic accidents, or in a community where there's people congregating and making trouble, and we can keep an eye on remotely. That's been a big boon too for us. Light towers. We got several light towers that can, the kind that you pull on a trailer, and you light up, you put the boom up, and you can illuminate an area that needs to be lit where you're going to have people walking, or you're going to have cars, or you're going to be doing something of consequence at night. You see them a lot of times on the construction, road construction, and they light up the whole area. To go with that, we got a van, and we mounted a light tower on that that does not run off a generator. It runs off of the car itself. You put the boom up. It's not quite as powerful as the trailer ones, but it can respond quickly to a crime scene. You can take it out to a road check. You can use it for, again, pedestrians, whatever you need. And that's been invaluable. That's been so helpful when things get dark and you're out in an area without light. Celebrate. We work with the district attorney's office to get Celebrate for our office. That assists us when we seize a phone. We can break it down and try to get information out of it.
Oh, wow.
Prior to that, we had to send them to the FBI or the Secret Service. And this gives us an ability to do a lot of this stuff in-house and a lot quicker than sending it out. The Starlink I talked about earlier. Milo. Milo is a training system with simulated shooting. It's a laser system on a board, and will give you scenarios or different scenarios where you can just shoot and hone your shooting skills. But the scenarios are the important part. It's a role-playing thing where you put deputies in and they can practice. What do I do when somebody's not cooperating? We actually, during training not long ago, we had a deputy went in. The scenario was a female totally distraught with a handgun in her hand, waving it around and just out of control. And they kept just saying, drop the gun, drop the gun, drop the gun. And we said, time out. Your role here is almost to be like a hostage negotiator and try to say something to break through. Are you okay? Can I help you? And went back in, and then we used it as a training tool. And that's what it is, a de-escalating training tool. And that has been very valuable. First of all, for people to practice shooting if they're having, they want to improve their skills, or putting these scenarios in and getting people used to it. And you get pumped up. These scenarios, even though it's a video, you get pumped up. And we've used this. We've brought in people that were on the Police Reform Commission to come in and look at this, because this goes to what they want, learning how to de-escalate, not learning how to just use physical force. We've offered it to other agencies. We've had some of them come over, and we're going to continue to offer that. But that's been a wonderful tool. Zello, we're in the process of getting that. That's a program where we'll be able to, some of our guys already have it. You can turn your cell phone into a radio and use that as a radio if for some reason your regular radio stops working. And that's about it on that list. But all these technologies we've brought up over the last 5-10 years, and we want to continue to chasing technology, bringing things that are going to make a difference for the citizens to allow us to be effective when we get out there on a scene or we're doing an investigation. Investigations have gotten more and more complex. They are not getting simpler.
Yeah. Well, what about body cams? Because that's something that a lot of people, like Fallsburg just recently got a whole batch of body cams.
That has come up, and we've looked at it. It's got good points and it's got bad points. If you're wearing a body cam and it's working properly, you can document a scene. If it's not working, people say, yeah, right, it's not working. And things break down. So if you go in and you say it didn't work, it didn't kick on, people are immediately suspect. It involves a lot of money, and it involves a lot of manpower because you have to monitor this stuff. And all this stuff has to be produced for discovery now. So it's a bit of a chore. And for a larger agency like ours, the numbers go up. If we do it, we have to do it for the jail and the road patrol. But currently, we're exploring that. There's two companies really that do it. And one is Motorola, and the other is, the names escape me. They're the people that make the tasers. And big price difference. But there's also a big difference between what they supply you with and how easy it makes you to use that thing. So we're in the process of looking at that. We're talking to them. We're had a demonstration with Motorola. We're going to be having the other company come down, and we're looking into that. And that may be something that we will be doing in the near future.
Right.
We will look at it and we'll talk to our partners in the legislature, and it's something they're going to have to fund.
Right.
Tell you the truth, I thought we were going to get mandated to do it after the problems they were having in the prison.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought it was coming down, and we were exploring it. And like I said, in the near future, I think we probably will have to follow the trend, and that's what the public expects. And we'll have to absorb the cost, and we'll have to deal with whatever manpower problems that's going to entail.
Right.
Because every time you bring something like this in, we're talking close to 200 people, 200 cameras. When you're the state police and you got 5,000, 6,000 people, you can have people specialize just to do that.
Yeah.
We don't. It's hard to have people just specialize and just do one thing. So we'll have to balance that out, and we'll hopefully in the near future have an answer for you on that.
Oh. So let's talk about the concern we have and the crisis that we're having with opioid and fentanyl use in Sullivan County. What new strategies are you planning to deploy to combat overdoses, especially in with fentanyl having an effect it does have in our community? And, why should voters believe that your strategy or your new strategy will sort of change the pattern if you are reelected? Because we just had, we're the highest overdoses outside of New York City. We had improvements. We have an article recently that came out that opioid use and fentanyl use is down in Sullivan County. But what would change if you got reelected?
Well, nothing would change. We would continue with the policies we've got in place.
Mm-hmm.
We've taken a three-pronged approach to the opioid problem. The first level is education. We've got DARE in the schools. Our DARE people are in all the schools that we control. Liberty and Fallsburg take care of their schools. Every other school in the county, we have the DARE program. We try to educate children. DARE has become not just drugs, alcohol, and tobacco. It's a decision-making model. And we make sure that's given. We also part of the opioid task force, and we try to get out and speak to people and get things out into the public with the educational end. The second piece of that is treatment. And we work very hard in the jail. When somebody gets brought in, we have a full-time drug and alcohol counselor. We have psychiatrists, nursing in the jail. We try to wean people off the drugs, and we have a MAT program in place to treat people while they're on the drugs. We also team up. We do the Hope Not Handcuffs, trying to get people into a program. And I have to say, we've had different groups pop up, but Hope Not Handcuffs is the first one that I've seen. You call, they're finding a place for this person to go. If somebody wants help, they are working very hard to get you a bed and to get that person where they can receive help. We have them now where they can come into our jail and talk to inmates. So we've opened that up. So we've done everything on those two ends. The third leg on the stool is enforcement. We're out there. Since I came on, we've had a gang and drug intelligence unit. They're out there working every day. They work with all the other police departments and the state police and Safe Streets. And we're arresting drug dealers and taking them off the street. And we use all three of those things. Every year we get more tools on how to do the jobs better, but we're going to maintain that. We're going to keep a hard look on the drugs. And I'm not going to take credit for it, but right now fentanyl deaths are down, and I believe crime is down. And I think that's from a lot of things, not just from us. Mm-hmm. There are a lot of mental health programs in place. You've got Hope Not Handcuffs. You've got the Opioid Task Force working at multiple levels to try to deal with people. And we've got all the police departments in the county are all working hard, and the state police and us assist them in any way we can. And I think it's been a collaborative effort, not any one group or person that's made that change. But our people have made significant, large arrests with the drugs, and they've made a lot of arrests over the years, and they're consistently working. I've never allowed that unit to shut down, even when we were short on manpower. Mm-hmm. I made sure that we had a gang and drug intelligence unit that is making those arrests, doing surveillance, and making sure we know what's going on and interacting with the other agencies. So It's very important.
Yeah, it's a great concern here. And, we talked off there, like everyone has a story that they've been affected by this crisis, and you yourself have been public about that in your own
As I told
family.
you, when I first ran, my daughter had a drug problem, a bad one. And my wife and I talked about it, and we said, we're not going to hide it. I feel if you've got a child that's got a problem like that, it's an illness. And if you try to hide them in the closet and they think you're trying to hide them because you're afraid my reputation or a parent
Hmm.
or someone's reputation is going to be hurt by them being around, or if people find out they have a drug problem,
Right.
I think that's harmful. You're not going to build trust with them, and you're making them feel even worse. So we came out, we supported our daughter, trying to get her into rehabs, trying to get her straight, and we never hid it. We made it a public thing. We were never ashamed of our daughter. She was a wonderful, dear, kind person, and she found her way out of it. How? I couldn't exactly tell you. A lot of the programs we sent her to, which were many, and long-term programs, short, they never seemed to work. And all of a sudden, it was like she was ready, and she just said, I'm getting straight.
Mm.
She left her boyfriend, who was also a drug addict, and she got herself clean. Then her boyfriend wanted to get back with her, and we said, no, that's the kiss of death. That
Right.
will be the end of it. And she decided to give him a chance. They got back together, and I don't know. That must have been like I won the lottery. He's still clean. She's 7.5, almost 8 years clean. He's like 7.5 years clean. They have 2 children. I've got 2 beautiful grandchildren. Wow. They both work. They're both productive, both healthy, and they're doing incredibly well. I never thought I would see that kind of happiness. And this, with my one daughter, there was the problem that I would ever see her doing so well. And I'm so proud of her. I'm so proud of him. But somehow they found their way out of that problem. I don't know how. I wish I had a formula to give other people. I'm one of the lucky parents because I deal with a lot of people. They lose their child. This fentanyl has been horrible. They've lost their kid. And even though things may have been horrible that they had a drug addict child that was addicted, they had their child. And a lot of people have lost their kids. A lot of people are still fighting this battle. I don't think there's too many people out there who don't have a family member, a friend who has not dealt with this problem or is currently dealing with this problem. But I have to say I hit the lottery on it. I was extremely lucky and somewhere where I never thought I'd be.
Yeah, well, congratulations on becoming a grandfather there, and thankfully your daughter is doing better. Your campaign emphasizes on being stable in the Sullivan County Sheriff's Office. If voters choose your opponent, Tim Diamond, over you, what are some of the biggest practical challenges or disruptions you might see at the Sheriff's Office, and why do you believe your approach is safer and more effective if you continue?
I haven't seen a platform from him. I don't know what he would do at the Sheriff's Office. I know what I do. I know what my staff does. One of the things we've done from the time I got in the office, me and the undersheriff, we interview every employee before they're hired in the jail and the road patrol. And coming from the state police, we both saw a lot of police agencies. We both saw a lot of things. And there are different kinds of cops out there. And sometimes you see the cop that power goes to their head and they think they're the boss of everybody. They're just there to tell everybody what to do. We were looking for a different product. And we tell people that's what we're expecting, that's what we're looking for, and when you work here, this is what we want. Do not forget that you're a public servant. Fire and EMS, never forget that. You're being paid for every minute you're out there working for us. We never ask you to do anything for free. This is your chosen profession, and while you're out there, you conduct yourself in a manner that take an interest in somebody's problem. You may go to something and the problem may seem like you're calling the police for this. Right then, that's the most important thing in that person's life. You show an interest and you try to solve the problem. Maybe you can't solve the problem, but that person should know when you leave, you did everything you could do and took an interest to try to help them. We are here to help the people. And anything short of that is problematic. And we drum that in their heads. We want people that remember they are public servants and what their role is. They're not, again, going out to boss people around or to be bullies. I've never been a fan of bullies. I don't know any people that really would be fan of bullies. I don't want our people to be. And I've been very pleased with the response we've gotten. When I talk to people on the street, it's very rare I get a complaint, but people will come up to me when I go to functions around the county and tell me, I had an encounter with one of your deputies and they were wonderful. So I'm very proud of the training, the bar we've set, and that we've got the people that can carry that out. Because I can have all the best plans in the world. If you don't have the best people and people that are willing to do the right thing, it doesn't work. I can give you the blueprint, but that doesn't help anything. They're where the rubber hits the road. And I'm very pleased with the tone we've set, the quality of work we're putting out there, and the results we're getting out there on the street.
Yeah. So just taking a look at, this wasn't a question I had on my list, and it just popped in my head. I remember hearing during the what's going on now with the immigration and ICE raids is happening across America, here in New York also. Your counterpart in Ulster County gave a statement recently, maybe not recently, a couple of months ago, about how he will handle an ICE raid or or what his working relationship with the federal government when it comes to ICE raids. Now, I spoke to your undersheriff, Eric Shabodi, a couple of months ago when this was sort of brewing up, and he mentioned a scenario with you and him and Formaggio Cheese when there was a situation there that they thought that an ICE raid would happen there. I just want to go over, if you want to speak on the sheriff's office stance on this, as far as protecting your own citizens at the same time. First of all, I don't want to put words in your mouth. But exactly, what is your stance with ICE raids and immigration, and how connected or how helpful you will be with federal law enforcement?
We don't do immigration law. That's a federal role.
Mm-hmm.
If they come into the area and they need assistance, we would assist any law enforcement. I won't leave any law enforcement out there hanging. As far as going out and looking for people who are here illegally, we don't do that. I have no interest in doing that. We have enough problems. If we grab somebody committing a crime, we do report that. ICE gets to see that. And if they want that person, they can come get them when they're released from doing their whatever time in our facility. But we take a pretty straightforward view of that. We do our job and we do what the law requires. But the being here illegally itself, we're not out looking for people like that. Again, I would assist ICE. But somebody's committing crimes here illegally, we do let the federal government know, and they can take appropriate action. Sometimes they're interested in coming, sometimes they aren't.
Right.
But there has been a thing where ICE put something out. They were a little upset about detainers, that they asked for us to hold people. But we need paperwork to hold somebody in our jail. We can't keep somebody past the point that a judge says you're to go in on the 1st and you're to be released on the 5th. We got to release you. We can hold you for a little bit, 24 hours if you've got a detainer. But we need a court order to keep somebody. Everybody in our jail is there under a court order. I believe if a federal agent comes in transporting somebody, we can put them in a holding cell while they're there in transport. Other than that, everybody has to have paperwork while they're there. And a detainer is only an ICE agent saying, hang on to him for me, okay? That's not a legal document here that I could stand by. And things have gone wrong. I believe it's a case in Pennsylvania where they asked them to hold him on a detainer, and they held him. And then ICE decided, we got the wrong guy. We don't want him, but they had detained him, and they got sued. Wow. He was not an illegal immigrant. And they misjudged, and they took a long time to get up there. And then we don't want him. I'm sorry.
Right.
Too much hand action here. You can let him go. So I don't know if I can clarify that any further. We do what we're required to do. That's the beginning and end of it.
Yeah.
Other than that, we have had outreach programs in the past. We haven't had one in a while because I am more focused, and my administration is more focused on human rights than on your immigration status. That's up to the feds to handle and decide what they're going to do about illegality being in the country. But where we wanted to be involved was having people have a comfort level, calling the police, that if they're being preyed upon by gang members of their own culture most of the time, or being shaken down by somebody, or some employers hire people and then fire them after a month and don't pay them and say, go to the police and we'll report you as being here illegally. I'm more concerned with people committing crimes against not citizens, but people living here than I am with their status. And again, that's up to ICE to decide, who's illegal, who's not illegal, and come in. But we want to make sure every person living under our jurisdiction, to the best of our ability, is not being preyed upon, that they're being treated decently and lawfully. And that is our main focus.
Yeah, no, I guess that's actually what I was thinking about, because folks have been concerned from the Hispanic population or that population who might be detained by ICE, is that they're afraid to call law enforcement because they think they may get detained because you find out they're illegal or whatever, and they need help, but they're just afraid to ask for help. It seems like you say, we don't care about status. You're there to help the Sullivan County residents, no matter what the status is.
Yeah, in the normal course of a complaint, when we get called, we're not going there and asking, okay, show me your green card, show me you're a citizen, show me a birth certificate and a license. We go there and we deal with the people we see there. If someone commits a crime or needs to be arrested, we're bringing them in. They will be fingerprinted, and when we find out who they are, if they're here illegally, ICE will be aware of that. But to me, that crosses a line that you're part of the problem. If you're committing crimes, we don't want you here.
Right.
I cannot imagine if you were here illegally that why would you commit a crime? I would think you'd be on your best behavior, that you wouldn't show up on anybody's radar. And I think the vast majority, that's the case.
Right.
But there are people out there preying on them, and sometimes in really horrible manners, sexual exploitation. A lot of these people are indebted to the cartels that got them into this country. And there are people preying on them. And if that comes to light, we're all over that. But I'm more concerned with victims.
Right. Now, just looking ahead, what is your sort of plan to sort of build a deeper trust with some sections of the community that might feel underserved or underprotected, whether due to mental health issues, homelessness, or substance abuse issues, or cultural divides? What is your plan sort of to help continue the outreach that you have been doing or plan to do?
We try to be at any of those things, anything that's relevant. We try to be at those functions and be there to be supportive and let people see us there and know we're there supporting these programs, whatever it might be, and just continue to do that. In a routine year, I'm going around to all kinds of functions around the county, and I'm getting beat up for that I should be fighting the fentanyl problem. I think people that say that are confusing being a detective. I have detectives that are out there fighting crime when I'm at a pancake breakfast or a chicken barbecue, or I'm at a road rally, or I'm at some religious function, a church or a synagogue. Going after crime doesn't stop because I'm there. I assist my people. I don't micromanage. I train my deputies. They're trained very well. We train our investigators. Our officers go to supervisor school. They know what to do. I don't need to babysit them. I come in when something's wrong and there's a problem. My goal is to get out there and know where we need to direct our resources, the programs you're talking about, and keep my finger on the pulse of the county. Because to have the assumption that if I'm at a pancake breakfast, I should be out fighting fentanyl, following people around, or making a drug bust, to me is ludicrous. I have people out there every day, every night, doing those jobs. My job, again, is to get them the equipment, the training, and anything else, manpower when they have something going on, to get them what they need to do their job. That's my role. And to interact with the public and find out what the public needs and what we need to do to support them and put our agency behind them and assist them, whatever matter might come up. So I think that's...
Now, I ask this to all our candidates for any race that we're running to. My final question for you, Sheriff, is when it comes to, say, the upcoming primary, June 24th comes in, or they do early voting, why should voters vote for you and reelect you over your opponent?
Well, I'm not going to tell the public what they should do. I would hope that after 20 years, people have an opinion of the job I'm doing to run the sheriff's office. There's been a lot of mud thrown. But if you look through the mud and you look for actual evidence of problems, and you think about your interactions with the sheriff's office and how our people reacted and how my staff reacted and how I reacted to anything you might have had, I would hope that the people of Sullivan County would look at our record and not let the fog of war, as you might say, blur that. Think about the last 20 years and where we've come from where we were as a sheriff's office to where we are now. And I think those two pictures are totally different. I think we've kept up with the times. We continue to keep up with the times. We've professionalized. We've done an awful lot. And if you, again, think about how you felt about the sheriff's office before you were told that we're running a bad operation.
Right.
Prior to being told that, I think most people were pretty happy with the operation and how it worked. And I would just say, again, look at our record and think about your interactions with our people or what you've seen our people do in your travels when you see them out and about, and make your judgment on that. If you don't like how I'm running the sheriff's office, well, then the answer is apparent. That's up to every voter to decide. And I'm only going to talk about, I think my staff has done a good job. I think our people have done a good job. And, you know, I would hope people would look back and see and think we've done a decent job for them, and that they would be looking for things to continue to run in the positive manner that they have.
Well, again, thank you so much. We were talking to Sheriff Mike Schiff, who's running for re-election. Has been the Sullivan County Sheriff since 2006. So again,
You know, and I'd like to throw one thing
go ahead.
in.
Go right ahead.
And it has nothing to do with the campaign. It has nothing really to do with our office. But
Right.
I always feel negligent if I don't mention fire.
Okay.
The fire, in a county like ours, if you go to Orange County, they've got, I think, in the ballpark of 35 police departments. That is totally different than Sullivan County. In a county like Sullivan, where we have so many rural areas, we've got almost 1,000 square miles. Public safety in a county like ours does not work without fire. Fire gives us manpower. They give us equipment, lighting, sometimes food, where there are auxiliaries will get food for us and cook and make sandwiches when we're out on a long detail. In no way at all, with all the police we have, we've only got Liberty, Fallsburg, Monticello, Woodridge, 2 constabularies, Bethel and Lumberland, and state police, of course. How can I forget the largest? But without them, we cannot function. We need them. So I always like to tip my hat and thank them, because those are volunteers. They come out 3 a.m, Christmas night, Christmas Eve, Easter. It does not matter. They come out, rain or shine, ice storm, and they come out not just for their own stuff, if there's a fire or they got to pump out a basement, but when we have a problem and we call, they come. So I almost feel like they're part of our agency, and I feel guilty talking about what we do and police, what we do in the jail. Our people in the jail are incredibly professional. And I got to say, those guys just went through a period. We're getting up to strength now where they were getting mandated to a point where it was horrible. They didn't know if they were going home any night, you know, just working them to death. And, you know, to show what kind of people they are, they got us through it. They came to work and did it. And the firemen, very similar. They just come out and do the job. So I just wanted to tip my hat to them and thank them, because without them, we can't do our job.
Well, again, thank you so much, Sheriff Mike Schiff, for joining us on the program, letting us know about your views, where you stand for this upcoming June 24th primary. Again, we're talking to the Sheriff Mike Schiff. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.